TN all across the Lone Star State.
It's GRN Alive,
bringing you faith, fun, and facts.
Live from the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Join us on the show. Call
877-757-9424.
877-757-9424.
Good morning. It is Friday, October 30th, 2020. We are in the 30th week of Ordinary Time. Welcome to the show. This is GRN Alive with the Friday Morning Crew.
Sit right back and you'll hear about a Catholic radio show. A radio show on Fridays with the greatest team you'll know. The host is a mighty radio man. He leads us brave and sure. 3 more of us are on the air for 1 hour straight. Our show starts at 8 with the radio host, the producer, to the movie guy, the professor, and Diane here on GRN Alive.
All right, I had to do it one more time. Okay, see, that's easier than introducing
you
too guys.
Good. Just one more time.
Well,
play it again.
I don't know. One more time for today.
Play it again. Let's go.
Play it again, yes. Daddy, play it again. All right, maybe in the after show. Okay, son?
Oh, no.
All right, so there it is. That's kind of an introduction to the show. Also, we're going to touch on some pretty heavy topics today, and so I thought we'd start off kind of light. Welcome.
Dave just didn't want to introduce us anymore.
No. Let that little 30-second thing do it, right? And all right, so Cecil Anderson is here. Good morning, Cecil.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm doing well.
Any strange landings out of bed today, or
Not
splits,
Not this morning. It was very cold though, which was lovely, but it's very cold for a Texan here.
Yeah, it's been cold the last couple of days. Dr. Chris Malloy from University of Dallas. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well.
All right. I always ask Dr. Malloy to do some of the heavy theological lifting. We're going to talk about All Saints Day, All Souls Day here in a moment. So you ready?
Yep.
Okay. He looks confident. And the man referred to as the movie guy, not the movie star like Ginger. The movie guy is Alex Trevino, and he's does mission180.org. And boy, you came through again, man. You got us a great guest for the second half of the show. Thank you.
Yeah. It's I heard it was a hard one to
get, so. Eduardo Vadastigi is going to be our guest.
Pull some strings to make it happen.
That's right.
We made it happen.
I don't see him out there on the, doing a lot of interviews. He's tough to get, but you're friends with him, right?
Yeah,
you're buddies.
Yeah, we worked on Little Boy together, which is the World War II father-son story.
Yeah.
I met him before that, and about 10 years ago now.
Yeah. So, of course, you probably know about Eduardo Vadastigi. He is from Mexico, a really handsome guy, pro-life, has a beautiful story, popular actor. And, the guy could be doing all the trashy R-rated movies and all the stuff that Hollywood, the Latino lover, as I've heard him say. But he's like, no, I'm not doing that, man. I'm not going to do anything that doesn't give glory to God.
Right.
And praise God for that, that he's doing that.
Yeah, and it's crazy just because the number of things he's had to turn down over the last 10, 15 years, it's incredible. I mean, he's been offered so many things that would make him like a mega star.
Yeah.
TV show starring, I think, there's a bunch. Movies, all that stuff.
But his reward, he's rewarded here, but his reward's going to be in heaven as well. So Eduardo Vadastigi will join us here at the end of the show, at the halfway through the show. His new movie is called Sound of Freedom. It's about sex trafficking. It's a difficult topic, but it's something we got to talk about because it's impacting a lot of people across the world. And we're also going to talk to Brian Caulfield, the vice postulator of the cause of canonization of Venerable Father Michael J. McGivney, the founder of the Knights of Columbus. He's going to join us on the phone here in a few minutes to talk about that. That's tomorrow. The beatification in Connecticut. So we'll talk about that. And Archbishop Vigil has written an open letter to President Trump warning about a great reset, a plot to subdue humanity and destroy freedom. And I read this morning, and I know I passed it along to you guys with very little notice. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it or not, but I think
eye-popping.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're 4 days before the election. I think Archbishop Vigil is seeing things that a lot of us kind of feel, but we don't quite know how to describe the weirdness that's going on in the world with all the lockdowns. Germany is in lockdown now.
Being in Texas too, and with our diocese, we're able to go to Mass. It's almost like you have to make an effort to empathize with what's going on in other parts. Like I call relatives and they say, "Oh, you mean you can do that?"
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's illegal to go to Mass in Ireland now. You cannot have a public Mass in Ireland. I mean, it's crazy. And anyways, Vigno has got his finger on the pulse, and he wrote an open letter to President Trump. And countries are locking down, and the Diocese of El Paso has shut down masses again.
He's basically telling Trump. This is the listeners should read Second Thessalonians chapter 2. That's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
So he's actually referring to the battle. The coming of Antichrist, and there's an obstacle in the way, and he's saying, Trump, on the political side, you're that obstacle.
Yeah.
On the spiritual side, it's the Catholic Church.
What pressure to be on one guy. You are the obstacle of the Antichrist. So I'm just going to read a portion of it. Diane's going to link it on our Facebook page. Speaking of Diane, and you hear her name in that little ditty that Sissel put
She
together
gets the
as
grand
well.
finale. It's amazing.
Diane. She does a great job on social media.
Let's play it again.
Now, son.
I'm going to try the whole hour to get it again.
But go to Facebook and Twitter, maybe YouTube. Diane said the YouTube one is kind of delayed. The handle or whatever is at GRN Online, and so. You can see a lot of the images and the behind the scenes as well. So, all right. So we got a lot to talk about. Sissel's got a couple of news stories as well. But first, let us talk about the next few days, liturgically speaking, are very significant. We've got All Saints Day on Sunday, which I guess, does it get trumped because it's a Sunday? No pun intended with Trump. And then Monday is All Souls Day. Dr. Malloy, what should we get out of these days, and what's the significance?
Yeah. So first, let's talk about them in the backdrop to it. So All Saints, obviously, we're celebrating all those who are in heaven, canonized or not. So the special feature of All Saints Day is essentially the non-canonized saints. The church doesn't make saints; she just declares saints. Mm-hmm. So this feast goes way back, east and west. Basically with the rise of martyrs. Eventually, the church just says, well, we're going to forget about all these. We're not going to remember them all, so let's just celebrate all of them, all the martyrs. That's already by the 4th century we see testimonies of this. Probably in the spring, near Easter, but by the 8th century, we've got Popes Gregory III, and then in the 9th century, Gregory IV, moving this feast to the fall, November 1st. And connected with that, obviously, is All Souls, those who are in purgatory. Pray for those the day after. Okay, so that feast comes on the heels of that. You also have the Halloween issue. Okay, Now that's a little bit more complicated, but its roots are Celtic pagan worship, and Samhain worship, the dark druid lord, and people dressed up in honor of this dark lord. Well, there was a movement in Ireland because it's Christianized. This feast is going on. The pagan things kind of stick with you,
Yeah.
And so there was a movement to say, what are we going to do with this feast? We have to do something for it. So what they decided to do is, you've got the All Saints Day is on the books. Whether that date was deliberate, the day after, I don't know. But I will say this, that it was the Irish effort to make Halloween Hallows Eve. That's how the British are calling it, Hallows Eve, All Hallows Eve. Mm-hmm. A day of praying for the souls, and especially the poor children would benefit. So you'd give them, they would say, I'll pray for poor souls. You please give me a piece of nourishment or a sweet. So a little bit of food or a sweet.
Yeah.
And of course, dressing up in silly costumes, playing music, making merry. It's a great way to attack that, move that feast. You can't just ignore it. It's so big. And then in America, apparently this was brought in by the Catholics. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I believe it, yes.
It was brought in by the Catholics, but back then it was that merrymaking, you kind of dance, and it's connected with Hallows Eve, Saints. But in the 50s, it gets to be unmoored from that, and then nowadays, there are some really gruesome things you see in people's lawns.
Yeah, it's gotten kind of dark in some ways.
But I do want to say this with regard to All Saints Day and All Souls Day. I do think we see an important distinction here between the extraordinary form and the ordinary form. All Souls Day is about getting out of purgatory and avoiding it, right? In the ordinary form, you see, strengthen our hope in the resurrection. In the extraordinary form, what do you see? You say, may the souls be delivered by our supplications. You see the day of wrath, dies irae.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore, right? These are, may we be saved from the bottomless pit of hell. And the offertory, in the new prayer, what you see is, we offer these up, So there's a pathos, I think, that you see, and it's my special thing. I've been going to the ordinary form or extraordinary form for a while, and there are some prayers that are so poignant that really hit the pit of the human spirit.
Yeah. So
the pith and marrow.
Yeah. Anyways, important feast days coming up. All Saints on Sunday, All Souls on Monday.
Another thing is All Saints. I think in the is moved to Monday.
Yeah.
In the ordinary form.
Oh, okay.
In the old practice, you would just keep it if it's a first class.
Right.
So Sunday, it's first class.
So in the ordinary form, what happens to All Souls Day on the 2nd?
That's a good question.
Co-celebrated?
No, that's a good question. I don't know.
One in the morning, one in the evening.
Then maybe we'll get moved to third.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. That's
we do
good
have
information.
The Roman dicastery gave us indulgence. There's a very flexible indulgence every November. It's November 1st through 8th. Visit a cemetery, pray some prayers. You can get an plenary indulgence for a soul of the faithful departed. But they've actually made that flexible now. You can take, I think, any non-contiguous, any 8 days you want.
Yeah.
That's
something
November.
I think, generally speaking, we don't do enough. I know, at least I don't. In Ireland, where my wife's from, the cemeteries are at the churches. And so every time you go to Mass, your loved ones are right there. And so it's a lot easier. But and most of us have to go out of our way, so to speak, to get to the cemetery. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dr. Malloy. Appreciate that. Great information there about All Saints Day, All Souls Day. And Sissel's got a couple of stories that you've been following. What's going on, Sissel?
So you may have heard yesterday that there was a new attack. There seems to be a growing number of attacks on Catholics and Catholic churches. But in Nice, France, an attacker went into the Basilica of Notre Dame around 9 a.m. and killed 3 people, quite brutally. And it is assumed to be a terrorist attack because the attacker shouted Allahu Akbar several times throughout the attack, and even the mayor, Christian Atroci of Nice, he said that he can confirm that they do believe it is a terrorist attack. And it was 2 women and a man, so please pray for the rest of their souls. And yes, Cardinal Robert Serra came out pretty strongly saying Islamism is a monstrous fanaticism, which is must be fought with force and determination, and just asking for overall prayers, and that we need to be fighting this with the love of Christ overall. So it's a pretty brutal attack.
Was one of those really, really brutal?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a near.
It was very brutal.
Yeah, very, very, very.
So brutal, it's not even appropriate to talk
Yes,
about.
exactly.
Right? People
That's
driving
why,
their kids to school and stuff. I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
It was a very, very bad attack. And this is just coming after we've seen several other a lot of violence towards Catholic churches. So in Chile, a couple weeks ago, 2 churches were basically burned.
Crowd cheering. Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they were. Outside cheering.
Cheering as
the
cathedral burns and is unrecoverable. Unfortunately, 2 cathedrals in Chile, and even some on a more smaller level in the United States. But there's a lot of vandalism going on and destruction of statues and such in the United States as well. But I think it was one of the cardinals in Chile that mentioned that we need to fight evil with love and not evil with evil.
Did they give any reason they're burning these down, or did they just do it?
Okay, so the one in Chile has to do with a protest that have been going on against the state. And I don't know why they're including the churches in this, but it's been kind of a thing that's happened, started last year and throughout the year, more violence towards churches.
Kind of a French Revolution thing, isn't it? Where the state and the church are kind of put together and they just want to bring everybody down.
So back a couple decades ago, maybe I could see that, but nowadays, is that?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to make sense to me either, but yeah.
Well, I mean.
The liberation theology kind of thing, there's a certain, old church and old state. You know, but
Yeah,
what's
just
going
kind
on
of-
now?
But
I don't see that.
if this is a Marxist movement, though, the great enemy would be
Yeah.
the Catholic Church,
Right, that's true.
And so just
Finally turn on
the
them.
church. Yeah, it gets scary. But like you say, respond in love. And all right, I want to get to this Archbishop Vigil. Do you have one other story?
Yeah, just to also pray for Poland. They just passed a new the Constitutional Court ruled on October 22nd that a law permitting abortion for fetal abnormalities was unconstitutional. This is a law that they passed in 1993, so this is a great news because this will lessen the amount of abortions. So if there's if you see anything that the baby might have some issues, be special needs or something like that, you cannot abort that baby. It's still legal to abort a baby in Poland under rape, incest, and possible danger to the mother's life. But a lot of protest has been taking out for this and attempts of vandalism.
Interrupting masses, and it's crazy. It's good to see a couple of countries are going in the right direction.
Right.
There is some good stuff going on right there.
And
But-
Weren't there some young Catholics
Yes,
guarding
that's
the
what I was
church?
going to say.
Yeah,
They stood
yeah.
outside the church so that the mass would not be
That's
interrupted.
awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think we all realize we're at a crossroads. We're at a point right now where the battle between good and evil is so intense. And I just wanted to draw everybody's attention to this open letter that Archbishop Vigil wrote to President Donald Trump about what he calls the Great Reset. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to get to our next guest. And he says, Mr. President, allow me to address you at this hour in which the fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. I write to you as an archbishop, as successor of the apostles, as the former apostolic nuncio of the United States of America. I'm writing you in the midst of the silence of both civil and religious authorities. May you accept these words of mine as the voice crying out in the desert. As I said when I wrote my letter to you in June, this historic moment sees the forces of evil aligned in a battle without quarter against the forces of good, forces of evil that appear powerful and organized as they oppose the children of light who are disoriented and disorganized, abandoned by their temporal and spiritual leaders. Daily, we sense the attacks multiplying of those who want to destroy the very basis of society. The natural family, respect of human life, love of country, freedom of education and business. We see heads of nations and religious leaders pandering to the suicide of Western culture and its Christian soul, while the fundamental rights of citizens and believers are denied in the name of a health emergency that is revealing itself more and more fully as instrumental to the establishment of an inhuman, faceless tyranny. A global plan called the Great Reset is underway. Its architect is a global elite that wants to subdue all of humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of entire populations. In several nations, this plan has already been approved and financed. In others, it is still in its early stage. Behind the world leaders who are the accomplices and executors of this infernal project, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum and Event 201, promoting the agenda. All right. He says the purpose of the Great Reset is the imposition of a health dictatorship aiming at the imposition of liberticidal measures, which I think the death of liberty, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that means? And so, anyways, it's not that long, but it's too long for me to read the whole thing. Diane has linked it on our Facebook page. You can go to lifesitenews.com and find it. It's definitely worth a read, especially.
Powerful.
Yeah, it is very powerful. And, anyways,
Whether people are going to buy it or not, I mean, is it credible? Is it over the top? But it seems like the gloves are coming off.
yeah.
And I feel like we're sleepy too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard. And he is convinced that he's awake.
Yeah, he's woke.
So he's woke, man.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a powerful.
Yeah. So
The
if
health-
anything else, like you say, if anything else, just read it. You can make your own judgment on this is over the top or this is a serious warning, but we need to pay attention to it.
Years ago, my wife and I were talking that it could be through the health thing. Interestingly,
Yeah.
right? Because the way the health community operates, we're the experts. You're not. Be
Yeah.
quiet and listen to us.
Yeah.
True, you are, but it leaves an uneasy feeling in the stomach when you're told that.
Well, yeah, because we all rely on our health, obviously, and you want to trust the authorities.
You got to go to them, and you have to get your physicals to go to school.
Yeah.
See, what I'm saying is they can do this through those means.
Yeah.
Let's say you had a change of gender confusion thing. Doctor can pull people aside. Mm-hmm. You get out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm talking to little so-and-so.
Yeah. We're going to skip the break, and we're going to go straight to our guest. Lots there. And again, go read that open letter from Archbishop Vigil. There's a very exciting series of events that begin tonight, actually, and it's the beatification ceremonies of Father Michael McGivney. The official beatification ceremony is going to be tomorrow at a beautiful church in Hartford, Connecticut. And we have joining us now Brian Caulfield, Vice Postulator of the Cause of Canonization of Venerable Father Michael J. McGivney, the founder of the Knights of Columbus, and he's going to talk to us about all the exciting things going on this weekend. Brian Caulfield, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Glad to be here.
All right, we were talking about this before the show started. What is a Vice Postulator of a cause, and how did you get this position? Tell us about that.
Well, Vice Postulator, as it is the assistant to the postulator. Every cause for sainthood has to have a postulator, which means someone who brings forward the cause. Our postulator is in Rome, bringing the cause forward to the congregation of the saints in Rome with the Vatican. And I'm the assistant in the U.S. I work full-time for the Knights of Columbus here in New Haven, Connecticut. And anytime, at this point in the cause, anytime we get a report of an extraordinary favor through the intercession of Father McGivney, I'm responsible for kind of doing that first initial inquiry into it, medical records and interviews of people who are involved. And, of course, now, because we have a miracle that was accepted by the Pope and the Vatican, that's why we're now at the stage tomorrow, finally, of the beatification of Father McGivney. Very exciting.
Yeah. You see the fruits of the Knights of Columbus, and Alex and Dr. Malloy and I are all Knights of Columbus, and just the millions and millions across the world. I think that alone, you founded the Knights of Columbus, canonized the guy. But beyond that, tell us something about Father McGivney and what's special about this man that we'll be celebrating this weekend.
Well, Father McGivney was born in Waterbury, Connecticut. His parents came from Ireland during the potato famine. He was ordained in 1877, and his first assignment was in St. Mary's Church in New Haven. At that time, it was a poor immigrant parish. The Irish coming over during the Great Hunger time, and he was known as a really holy priest, but not just a priest, who was holy in the sanctuary and the rectory, but he had this notion of going out, which was not common, priest in that era in the U.S. because of the anti-Catholicism. He would go out into the community. He would advocate for his people. He would go to court, to advocate for his people. And, but he also had good relations with the Protestants of the day. Just universally known as someone that anyone could go to at any time. And he would be your advocate, he would be your helper, he would pray, but he would also do something very practical to help you. And that is the reason he founded the Knights of Columbus in 1882 in the basement of St. Mary's, because he saw a lot of his Catholic men were going to the secret societies and anti-Catholic secret societies because they had connections, they would get jobs, they would get, move up in society. So we said we have to give these men same or similar benefits or better benefits so they won't go away. They keep the family close to the church. So that was the idea of the Knights. There was a death benefit. Any member that died, the widow and the children, would get a death benefit, and that still goes on today with our insurance company. And also it was a way for men to grow in their faith under the principles of charity, unity, and fraternity. And these are the principles of the Knights today. So Father McGivney's original vision is really still very relevant today, and that's why we think, he's really a blessed for our time.
Yeah, certainly. Brian Caulfield is vice postulator of the cause of canonization for Venerable, soon-to-be beatified Father Michael J. McGivney, the founder of the Knights of Columbus. And there's a lot going on beginning this evening, and I know COVID kind of changes everything. I understand a lot of these, if not all, is not open to the public, but that doesn't mean we can't still participate. Brian, can you tell us about what's happening this evening, of course, tomorrow, and I think even a massive Thanksgiving on Sunday as well, and how our listeners can participate?
Yeah, we have sort of a triduum of 3 days of celebration of Father McGivney. And at St. Mary's Parish in New Haven, where he founded the Knights, the Dominican fathers there are starting this evening. First, it's a prayer vigil for the clergy of Connecticut, because not all the clergy, not all the priests are going to be able to get into the cathedral tomorrow for the beatification. So this is like evening prayer and then reflections and adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. And then after that, it's what they call the McGivney Festival, and it's really going to be an overnight vigil kind of thing. Again, you have to sign up in order to be able to get into the church, but people are welcome to pray outside. Of course, Saturday there will be the beatification up in Hartford, where the cathedral is, St. Joseph's Cathedral. But after that, again, at St. Mary's, there's going to be kind of a forum on Father McGivney. And a lot of this will be televised on UWTN and also live streamed on kfc.org/beatification. And then on Sunday will be a massive Thanksgiving at St. Mary's. Massive Thanksgiving for the beatification of Father McGivney. So it's very exciting. It's 3 days, constant, overnight, Friday night and Saturday night. Of course, people who live locally here in the Connecticut area are welcome to come, and others are welcome to view this, either live streamed or on cable, EWTN.
Yeah, there's. I'm on the website right here, the kfc.org, and then events and Father McGivney. I'm sure people can find it pretty quickly just going to kfc.org. You mentioned, of course, people know that none of this can happen unless there are miracles that are confirmed by the Vatican. And we actually had, I hope I pronounce his name right. Is it Mikey? Is it Shackley? Is that right? His
Shackle.
Shackle.
Yeah,
okay.
Shackle.
Okay. Yeah, his dad came
Shackle
out with
family in Tennessee. The father is actually an insurance agent with the Knights, so they knew about Father McGivney. Their 13th child was diagnosed with a fatal condition called fetal hydrops, so serious that, the medical experts, the neonatology experts down in Nashville said there's no chance, this child will not get to delivery. So they prayed to Father McGivney, and, a few weeks later, you can see the two ultrasounds. First one before, he looks like, a bloated balloon kind of in the womb. And then 3 weeks later, he looks like a normal. He also had Down syndrome, but the parents never prayed to have that healed because they thought that would be a gift to the family, that, this child is destined for heaven. But he was healed of the fatal condition of hydrops. It took 4 years to get, all the information, go through the tribunal, get the information to Rome. Went through the medical commission, approved, went through the theological commission, approved, and the Holy Father, Pope Francis, approved the miracle back in late May. So since then, we've kind of been in what I call a spiritual sprint toward the deadline of tomorrow, and it's hard to believe it's actually come, but we're ready, and we're just waiting for these blessings and for a second miracle for Father McGivney's hopefully canonization.
What is his feast day going to be?
That's going to be announced tomorrow. A letter from the Holy Father will be read where the feast day will be announced.
You can tell us now. Come on, please.
Oh, no.
Exclusive.
I know. No one's listening, right? You're going to tell me no one.
No, just between us as friends, right? So that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's a great celebration, and all the information is there on the website, kfc.org. And as Brian said, a lot of this is going to be broadcast on EWTN television and I believe radio as well. It all begins at 7 o'clock. I presume that's Eastern time tonight. October 30th, with the prayer vigil for priests. And I'm just looking at these churches that were New Haven, Connecticut. Boy, that is an absolutely beautiful church. And, But anyways, yeah, thanks so much. Great information. I hope a lot of our listeners will participate in this.
Appreciate it, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate all the work that you do. And I guess we'll be talking to you maybe again when the canonization comes around here, hopefully before too long, right?
Yeah, I look forward to that. So you could probably see my smile even on radio.
Yes, I can see it. All right. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate your time this morning. Good talking with you.
Thank you.
God bless.
All right, Brian Caulfield, Vice Postulator with the Cause of Canonization. Kind of highlights the fact that I think we really need to pay attention, because I remember when Mikey's dad was on, he had taken like a pilgrimage to Fatima?
Yes.
And somebody was praying, and they were at a mass. I forget the details. And the reason I bring that up, so we had a lady come to our door last night, just kind of like a door-to-door kind of sales lady, and my wife ended up getting in a conversation with her. The lady, and we have a special needs child, as you do, Dr. Malloy, and the lady got into this conversation about her special needs kids being healed, and she asked if she could pray with my wife and over our son, and it's just these little opportunities in life where you might miss them if you don't pay attention. And of course, we know that sometimes even angels take on bodily forms, and I think there's I don't know why I'm even talking about this, but but just this awareness of God working in our lives in extraordinary ways that sometimes we just may miss it,
And yeah, it's funny because throughout history we keep saying, oh, well, miracles all happened way back in the apostles' time.
Yeah.
St. Augustine said that. He goes, yeah, they happened back then. He goes, but a few have happened while I've been bishop. So he talks about them, and they happen like right now. For us, I mean, not like it's only about miracles and we should just be looking for the extraordinary, but they do. It's nice to know that God can really work powerful things, especially right now. We need it.
Yeah,
don't we?
We sure do. We sure do.
I was going to mention that Father McGivney's way of handling the poor, it's kind of like a local, private enterprise to assist the poor. Back in the 19th century, there were a lot of those kinds of movements. And when they dominated, they did really well. The effects were really good. And when a centralizing effort was made, actually the effects were not so good. It kind of what do you call it? If you offer the money, they will all come needing it.
Yeah.
Rather than local judgment, that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right, it's time for a break. I want to say a couple of things. We're waiting on a call from Eduardo Vadastigi. We're going to talk about his new movie that's coming out, dealing with a pretty heavy topic of sex trade, child sex exploitation, but it's something that definitely needs to be talked about. We're also going to talk to him about the upcoming election, maybe especially having to do with Latino voters, which I think is one of his specialties. I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, thanks to everybody who came to the event last night in Midland. Bishop Strickland, who I don't know if y'all know this, he's going to be our guest next Friday. Bishop Strickland is going to be
fantastic.
Who knows what the world's going to be like next Friday after this election? I mean, I don't know what we'll be talking about.
We may not even know what's happening.
Buckle up.
So he's going to
it'll be suspense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the thing is we just don't know. And so next, he was the speaker last night in Midland at the event. I haven't gotten any official updates on it, but thanks to everybody. It was a sold-out event, and I'm sure it went really well. Also, Joe McLean, our director of mission development, has texted me and asked me to tell you guys that a new version of our app is released on iOS, and the Android version is coming very soon. Now, I'm not a techie guy, and so
I need to go download
I hardly
the new
even know
one.
what that means, but I just wanted
now.
to. Yeah, you are? Okay, as we speak. Okay. And so let's take a break, and at the end of this 2-minute break, Sissel's going to play a part of the trailer for the movie that Eduardo Vadastigi is in. It's called Sound of Freedom, and also
Powerful movie.
powerful movie. It's probably a difficult one to watch, but it's an important one to watch. And Jim Caviezel is the star in it.
I'm so excited.
And so you'll hear the trailer, and I hope we're going to have Eduardo. That's the hope, anyways. Yes. We're waiting on the call. So, anyways, hang tight. And if you want to join in the conversation, we really appreciate hearing from you. 877-757-9228. 9424. 877-757-9424. We'll be back.
I've never heard y'all before. There is this lady with her big white SUV, and on the back of the windshield is this big cross with y'all's radio station underneath. Put it on y'all's radio station anyhow, and then it starts talking about the saints and how the saints give you signs and they lead you into the right direction. I just appreciate you and God for putting that sign in my life and letting me know that it is Him and it's okay.
The Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul.
Join the Guadalupe Radio Network in praying for the upcoming elections and for the United States. We will be praying a Rosary Novena through November 3rd. After the Divine Mercy Chaplet, we will be airing The Rosary for America featuring Julie Carrot, host of We Sing Our Faith. So join us in praying for our country and for the upcoming election through November 3rd.
Did you know that you are ministering to those who are imprisoned? Almost every one of our stations reaches some type of correctional institution. Since first going on the air in July 2000, the GRN has heard back from many prisoners about our life-changing programming. One federal inmate wrote, "The GRN is able to provide us with answers, knowledge, wisdom, and most importantly, the peace we all need." With the help of the GRN, former gang members have come back to the church and have become some of the most loving and caring people in the compound. He went on to say, "The GRN has helped fellow inmates reconnect with families and have saved marriages. Without the GRN, it would be more difficult for us to find peace, hope, love, and to save our lives." Thank you for being part of the GRN family and helping save lives now and for all eternity. This is Len Oswald, President of the GRN, with your Family Minute. We are your Catholic radio. Radio for your soul.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What will we do?
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you.
All right, we are back, and this is GRN Alive Friday edition, and we are so grateful for you listening and also going on to our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, and I think maybe YouTube as well. The handle is GRN Online, and you can see what is going on behind the scenes, and we have an after show as well. 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424 is the phone number, and Eduardo, you just heard the trailer of the movie that's coming out, and we were going to have Eduardo Vadastigi, but sometimes things don't work out exactly as you hoped. We think we might still get him, but we'll hang tight and let's see if we get him. The movie is called Sound of Freedom, diving into the global issue of human trafficking through the true story of a former CIA agent. And so I don't know. Is it out yet, or what's the story with this?
No,
one?
It's kind of in limbo because obviously everything with COVID, destroyed the movie sort of distribution channels. But I think they're shopping it around. But it's the story of Tim Ballard. If you don't know who that is, he was a CIA operative who would go to these places, to countries all over the world to basically rescue kids. And he realized that the bureaucracy was just too much to handle, too much to deal with. There were people who would be in his line of sights where the government would tell him to stand down because it's not, we don't have an agreement with this country, or we don't have it's not proper to go and get rid of this guy who's got thousands of kids held in slavery. And so that's when he said, all right, well, I'm going to go rogue. So just started going rogue and literally invading third world countries with mercenaries to rescue all these kids.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks intense. It's kind of like Unplanned. I know when that one came out, the Abby Johnson story, and people are like, gosh, I mean, it did very well, and I think it was a great movie, but you're like, some people say, I want to go to a movie to be entertained. I want to be a movie to get away from the troubles of the world.
Eat popcorn.
Eat popcorn.
Well, some people just, they know already the horror of abortion, and they're just like, I can't stomach it. I can't stomach seeing it. So, it's one of those things.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But it does hit.
But
those movies have power where they need to.
Right. And I will say, too, the massive distinction of a movie like this with something like Cuties on Netflix that came out, where, it's telling a good story, the exploitation of children, Cuties, but the way it's shot is exploiting children in order to show exploitation.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
In this case, it's Catholic filmmakers doing this in a way that's tasteful, that's, classy. It's not like they're doing anything like that at all to get this story out in a really true and powerful way. So
he looks so good. I mean, he is really acting well in that. I mean, I know he's I know he's a good actor, but I'm saying this
looks great.
Yeah.
He was Bella, right? He did Bella.
Eduardo was in Bella. Yeah,
Eduardo. But I mean, was Caviezel in Bella?
No, he wasn't.
No.
Of
course, Caviezel was in Passion of the Christ, of course.
Yeah, he was Jesus.
He's Jesus,
He was 33 when he shot The Passion. It's incredible.
He also was in the
You can tell I'm a big movie guy.
Yeah, huge, massive,
nobody's going to mistake you as the movie guy in the Gilligan's Island trailer, right? You're the professor.
I'll be the professor.
Just gotta stick to our roles.
Dr. Trevino reporting for duty.
Lane,
Let's
right?
go.
Didn't Spider-Man just come out?
All right, if you want to join in, also we're going to talk a little bit more about this open letter to President Trump by Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, which I think is very important, especially as we come up on 4 days before this election. Have you heard? There are pictures coming out of Washington, D.C., where pretty much the whole city is boarded up. They are expecting like calamity. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I did not see this.
Thomas Peters tweeted last night and said it's a ghost town. He said you wouldn't even recognize Washington, D.C. because everybody is expecting it to just be completely chaotic. And they're on election day or even beforehand. Of course, we saw what's happened in Philadelphia already.
And of course, the president, if he pulls the National Guard, they're all going to say, "What? This is some kind of." Power move by him. Yeah. But, the National Guard is needed. I hope the local states...
They've been deployed in Texas. Yeah.
I know. I'm glad.
All major cities, yeah. And then I also saw that Walmart took all guns and ammunition out of like display cases.
I see. That
it's
makes
all in
a
the
lot
back
of sense.
now. So you have to ask an associate to go get you a certain item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me, I read a little bit of this letter from Archbishop Vigano to President Trump. He says, "It is you, dear President, who are the one who opposes the deep state, the final assault on the children of darkness." That sounds very apocalyptic, doesn't it?
It is. I was saying that's a reference to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Okay, Paul there talks about the man of sin, the man of lawlessness.
Yeah.
And he says this is going to be the Antichrist. The tradition knows that this is the Antichrist. Paul says he will come after the apostasy. Okay, so first an apostasy, then the man of sin. And he says, but there's something preventing this guy from coming.
The restrainer?
Restrainer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, tell us about that. Because I remember back when I was getting my master's degree, I did a whole paper on the restrainer.
You did? That's awesome.
Yeah. You may have graded it.
No.
But
awkward.
And you failed, Dave.
Awkward.
All these bad memories are coming back. But no, seriously, tell us about the restrainer and how that might relate to current times.
Yeah. So, the restrainer there's an obstacle. It says he won't come. He can't rule. The mystery of iniquity can't be unleashed until the obstacle is taken out of the way or the restrainer is taken out of the way. Everyone's like, what is this? The church fathers thought it was the Roman Empire. Okay, we look back on that. We makes it sound laughable, right? Because that's gone. John Henry Newman, wrote about the Antichrist. Highly recommend to listeners, which they, by the way, they could call if they're interested in it. But to read those essays, they're online. What Newman says is it's the rule of law. The restrainer is the Roman Empire in the sense of the rule of law. And so what Vigano's doing is saying it's the New World Order is the anti-order trying to subvert the, rule of nature, the rule of law.
Yeah.
And Trump, he's very nuanced here. He's like, not that I'm supporting your political party, Vigano says, but you represent for so many people the way the world should be in so many ways.
Yeah.
Not that you're perfect, but values, family values, nature, private property, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so this is, we're referring to the letter that it actually was dated October 25th. I didn't know about it until this morning. I saw quite a few, including LifeSite News, have linked to this. You can go, and Diane has linked to it on our social media platforms as well. If you'd like to comment on this, or how are you doing in this difficult time leading up to a very contentious and, everybody's... I don't know. I can't say everybody. A lot of people are kind of nervous a little anxious about what's going on. Let us know how you're doing. 877-757-9424. 877-757-9424. Do you think there's credence and credibility in this letter, or you think it's nonsense? Archbishop Vigano says, Mr. President, I imagine that you are already aware that in some countries the Great Reset will be activated between the end of this year and the first trimester of 2021. That's interesting, a trimester. I don't typically think of trimesters in regard to years, but for this purpose, further lockdowns are planned, which will be officially justified by a supposed second and third wave of the pandemic. You are well aware of the means that have been deployed to sow panic and legitimize draconian limitations on individual liberties, artfully provoking a worldwide economic crisis.
So Great Reset.
Yeah.
Is he talking about like a cashless? I mean, I know I've heard vaguely, but the move to cashless, the move to, like he talks about an ID. He doesn't say chip, but digital ID.
Yeah.
Health record, contact tracing.
Now, some people would tie that into the Book of Revelation.
Mark of the Beast.
Yeah, right. And so, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I think, maybe this is just something that's going to blow over. I was thinking about what was going on back in the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs when, everybody was thinking the United States was about to get nuked by Russia, and they were doing drills in schools, and everybody was freaking. And is this something that a couple years from now we say, wow, that was kind of weird? Or is this really a big deal,
Well, that's why I like Newman so much on this Antichrist stuff, because he says, look, it's always a possibility. A real possibility. And there are different kinds of antichrists. Like there's this guy, that guy, and the other guy at different times. And so as history goes forward, Newman says, rather than laughing it off and saying, oh, well, they thought it was in the 19th century or whatever, now we know it's just all mythology. That's what a lot of people do. Newman says, no. As history rolls out, you get a better picture as to what the real guy is going to be like, because he's going to put together Hitler. Obviously, Newman didn't talk about that. He's going to put together Robespierre. He's going to put together the guy who founded Islam. That's who Newman points out.
Yeah.
He's going to put together Julian the Apostate and Antiochus IV.
Wow.
All these different people. He's going to put them in one. Or he's going to be.
He's going to be. So it's basically like saying you've seen all these people. It's going to be worse than all these people.
That's exactly what Newman says. So he doesn't want anyone to be panicky. Obviously God's in charge, but he does want people to realize that this is a serious battle and it's underfoot. Back for Newman, it was the secular education. The fact that we're ripping the church out of education, no public aspects of religion in the society, that kind of stuff.
A little bit more from this letter. Archbishop Vigano, again, open letter to President Trump. He said, Mr. President, and I'm jumping, I'm not going in order here, but this is towards the end. Mr. President, you have clearly stated that you want to defend the nation, one nation under God, fundamental liberties and non-negotiable values that are denied and fought against today. It is you, dear President, who are the one who opposes, and he puts that in quotes, the deep state, the final assault of the children of darkness. For this reason, it is necessary that all people of goodwill be persuaded of the epical importance of the imminent election, not so much for the sake of this or that political program, but because of the general inspiration of your action that best embodies, in this particular historical context, that world, our world, which they want to cancel by means of the lockdown. Your adversary, listen to this, Your adversary is also our adversary. It is the enemy of the human race, he who is a murderer from the beginning. Wow.
Whoa. Them's fighting words.
Yeah. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure and significance in one political leader. It's I don't know.
And an unexpected one. You know, it's like in Isaiah, Cyrus.
Yeah.
Cyrus is the anointed. But he's a pagan.
Yeah. Right. And he's the one that...
he rescues the Jews.
Yeah.
Sends them back.
Right.
I mean, you know, benevolent understanding towards the Jews, but not himself Jewish. Isn't that interesting?
That's fascinating. Wow.
All right. Last chance to get in on this conversation. If you'd like to join us, let us know what you think. I told you at the beginning when we played that silly Gilligan's Island, I said, we got some heavy stuff to talk about in the show today. The beatification was fun. That was
absolutely.
That's
the upside.
That's the upside of all this.
Good things are happening always.
We got to
God's
remember
always in charge.
The saints. Yeah, 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. You know, Eduardo was going to be on with us. We never heard from him, but I also wanted to talk about there are some things, and again, this year a lot of the news has just been buried because people have been so obsessed with the pandemic and the election. But back in January 2020, talking about sex trafficking, President Trump recognized the 20th anniversary of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act and signed an executive order on combating human trafficking and online child exploitation in the United States. It's amazing to think of how many people are being impacted by this, and it's kind of like abortion. You don't see it. I mean, I don't. Maybe I've seen. You know, you walk in a mall and maybe there's somebody who's I guess on the border. You see these coyotes coming across.
Yeah,
but I don't see it. It's kind of all happening.
And the victims are all, you know, in I guess locked in houses or whatever.
Yeah, but it's a serious thing. This is ruining children's lives.
How many? Like, what are the stats on it?
Yeah, I think they said one of them in the trailer is.
I don't know, but it's a lot. I mean, it's overwhelming just how big of an issue it is.
It's just hard to believe, and you know, you want your kids just to play around, and they should, but people need to be in the neighborhood, kind of there watching a little bit.
Yeah. My wife was telling me somebody put up on social media about. I think even in our life, I don't know, Alex, you're pretty young, but when I was a kid, man, I'd get my friends, go down to the
miles
creek,
away,
and I sometimes would be gone for 7-8 hours, and I'd come back and nobody worried about me, and nowadays it's just a whole different world.
Poor
kids. I want to get to some calls. I know they're coming in now. I want to thank everybody who's calling in. Some comments on this. I know Sissel is feverishly trying to get these people screened in the remaining moments of this show, and so can we go to Valerie? Sissel's like, hold on, Dave. I know Sissel's got to get him. Okay, let's go to Valerie. Thanks so much for calling, Valerie, here on GRN Alive Friday. And go ahead, Valerie. What's your comment for us? Thank you for calling. Valerie, you there? Valerie is... Okay, there we go.
Hello.
Hi, Valerie. Go ahead. You're on.
Yeah, I had a comment because I was telling Sissel that I cannot watch the news, any channel anymore. So I just come home, watch YouTube, and then I'll find things I like on YouTube, and I feel like I know things. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we do. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I just pick what I want to watch on YouTube, like Candace Owen or yes. But my dad is, of course, a Hispanic older man who considers himself a Democrat. And I accidentally sent him something on his through his phone that he did not talk to me for like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I felt like I understood that in the Bible when it says sons will not talk to fathers will not talk to their sons and blah blah blah.
Division,
like,
right?
This is happening to me. The division is happening, and I get it. And then all this other stuff is happening, and it just frustrates me that people don't know this, can't know this, because because of the media that we now live in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
older people don't understand that there is not somebody. There's no Walter Cronkite or everybody trusts. You know,
Right,
there's nobody
right.
that everybody trusts.
I saw a story on CNN the other day. You know, we got this outstanding economic news yesterday where the GDP grew by 33%, and it really all of us should
In the third
celebrate.
quarter?
Yeah, and it's good news. And
For everyone.
on CNN, it
Yeah.
said, you know, GDP grows by 33%, but 88,000 new cases of coronavirus. You know, I'm like,
Gotta find something
what?
bad.
Yeah, in the same headline. I'm like, what? Valerie, thanks so much. I think you make a great point, and we pray for you and your father. I know there is division in families, and we don't have a lot of common values along political lines these days. But
I know. And I pretty much considered myself, I always kind of tell people, he is kind of a Pharisee. Because we were raised Catholic, and he raised us Catholic. He just didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing. On looking at a higher perspective, like we put a sign in our lawn, you know, pro-life, pro-Trump. That's just my personal thing because I think that platform is more pro-life. But you know, in a way I don't like doing it because I want to have a relationship with my neighbors.
Yeah.
And we got to keep that, you know, so
Yeah.
that you can vote, but I mean, who's going to win is going to win. I don't know, but your father, you know, we still want to have our relationships.
Yeah. Valerie, let me put you on. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for calling. I want to get to Dan real quickly, but I really appreciate the call. Dan, thanks for calling in from Houston. Just got about a minute. Well, what's your question or comment? Thanks for calling.
Well, my question is, when you see, when you watch the news, they're accusing Trump of being very divisive, and Biden being the great
unifier,
unifier, and all this sort of thing. And what I'm wondering is, ever since Trump got into office, he seems to me to be, because he's so pro-life and he's so pro-religious liberty. I'm wondering if what we're seeing is basically a societal exorcism, in a sense. In other words, because of Trump and his policies and Mike Pence as vice president, if basically what Trump is doing is calling out all these things that are wrong, and basically the demons are being forced to reveal who they are and what they are. And people are just throwing a fit over it. So when you say Trump is the cause of all these riots and all this stuff, in a sense, he's right. Why? Because he's calling out all the evil influences in our culture, and now they're revealing themselves, and people and the demons are extremely upset that they're being forced to reveal their faces and their real identity.
Dan, thanks so much. We're coming up on the end of the show, the radio show. Can you hang with us in the after show for a couple of minutes? I'd like to continue. I don't know. Are you able to stick around?
No, I got to get going.
Got to go. Okay, great point.
I wonder who's exercising who,
and we
though.
see it we see it spilled over in the streets too, where it's just raw evil. That's just not the way you throw a temper tantrum. Dan, hang on a second. I think you got a really good point. Thanks everybody for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. All Saints Day, All Souls Day. God bless you. And thanks everybody for listening. Monday, Joe and the team will be on with GRN Alive Monday.
Thank you for listening to GRN Alive.
From the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
For more faith, fun, and facts,
join our email list.
Just text the letters GRN to the number 42828. That's GRN to the number 42828.
And may your Friday be filled with the joy of the Lord.
All right, we are back, and this is the online social media portion of our program, and I know many of you are hanging around. We had a couple of really good calls there at the end. Valerie being very honest about her situation with her father and how politics have really put a wedge in a relationship with her father. I think some of us, we can talk a little bit more about that as well. My family tends to all be like-minded, at least on my side of the family, and so we really don't have that issue. But then we got a call from Dan. And Dan, we only had a little time, but I want to kind of flesh this out a little bit more because I think Dan had such a really poignant point that if Dan can hang with us for a few minutes, we're going to talk about it. We lost Dr. Malloy. He had to get to school, but we gained Sissel. So Dan, are you still there?
I am. I'm here.
Okay. Thanks so much. We got a little bit of time now. We're not quite so crunched, but kind of, if you could even start from the beginning for those who are just joining us and kind of make the point that you were making, which I thought was very profound.
Well, the thing that's been going through my mind is as I watch the news in the evenings and I see all the stuff that's going on, ever since Trump got into office, there's been this, it's like everything's come unglued. And I think what Trump is doing, and with Vice President Mike Pence and the influence of some really good people in his cabinet and in his inner circle or whatever, that basically his policies and the things that he signed into to law via executive order and all this have basically forced some of these people to show their hands, in a sense, to reveal their real selves, to the point where some of these things are desperately evil, and there's no other way to put it. And I really appreciate Bishop Vigano for this letter that you're talking about earlier. But what I'm thinking of is this is basically something like a societal exorcism, if you will, that because these policies have become so public and it's become so ingrained in our culture over the last 40, 50 years, perhaps even longer than that, that now what Trump is doing is basically forcing them to reveal themselves, and that demonic influences as well as the people themselves are being forced to reveal their real identity and their real agenda, and they don't like that. And it's basically an all-out war. And I compare it to when Jesus expelled the demons from that poor kid, how they shrieked and wailed about and threw this huge fit. And basically, I think that's what we're seeing. All the rioting, all the the mayhem that's going on, when politicians won't even vote for things that they're in favor of simply because they can't let this guy succeed at anything. Just makes me think there's something diabolical going on here, and it's not on an individual level. It's big.
Yeah. Wow, that's all I can say. I think about, let's say somebody has a skeleton in their closet and they, God forbid, had an abortion 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and somebody exposes it. We were talking about in Canada, they just passed a law where a parent can't even talk to their child about their sexual orientation. It's kind of like everybody wants to be silent. Nobody wants to talk about the things that have happened. But I think to your point, Dan, is that Trump's exposed it all, and now we're seeing the underbelly of the beast, and it's coming out and it's flowing into the streets. Because, I mean, when you're mad about something and you take it out by destroying stores and attacking police and in some cases killing people, stealing tennis shoes and TVs and ransacking, and not to mention just the scourge of abortion. That is diabolical. I mean, that's when I see these scenes and burning churches and that. I mean, gosh, I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
I always thought my grandkids would have to deal with this. For whatever reason, I think it is because of the election. It's just been fast forwarded so much.
Yeah,
I thought this stuff was going to happen when I was dead.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of it now, it seems like. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I don't know. It's always not surprised anymore of things that I see. All the things happening in Poland with the churches getting destroyed in Chile that we talked about. Everything happening in Philadelphia over the last couple of days. I mean, it's sad that it's not as shocking as it might have been, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's happening in the church as well. I talked to somebody the other day about Benedict's abdication as Pope, and it's almost like he said the same thing. He said he abdicated, and I don't know if this is just an opinion, in order that the filth in the church to be revealed, because he knew it was there. He knew there was a lot of financial problems, there were sexual problems, and he's kind of like, I'm just going to let it come to its surface. And it has. And we're seeing that in the church right now. And again, that's a stretch, and that's not what Dan called about initially. But Dan, we really appreciate you giving us a lot of thought, and I'm getting comments on the social media. One person said, wow, to Dan. Have you talked to anybody else about this or got any other thoughts on your theory, or did it just kind of pop into your head this morning as you heard about Vigano?
No, this has been ruminating ever since Trump got into office. Actually, perhaps even before that. But I think in the current political climate and whatever, it's just really been playing on my mind. And my poor wife, she's got to listen to me all the time.
Now the whole network has to listen to you, Dan. I mean, come on.
Well, see, here's the thing. We're supposed to promote the good, or promote human happiness and prosperity. We're supposed to seek the good, the true, and the beautiful. And what I see going on now is absolute insanity. And I go to my, I think to myself, where does this chaos, where does this insanity come from? And there can be only one root source for that. And ultimately it's Satan. Yeah. I mean, when Black Matter comes out and has a peaceful protest, so-called, and it turns violent, and they start destroying the businesses that their own people work at, that their own people paid for, that shelter their families and employ them and all that. That's insane. When they have a policy, a stated policy to destroy the nuclear family and promote abortion, and you know that such a high percentage of abortions are against or happen to black children, and when you know that the very founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, was a eugenicist, or I think I got the word right, and she believed that the blacks and the minorities and the unintelligent were human weeds. That is absolute insanity, and where else could that come from but Satan?
Yeah. And, our previous caller had mentioned Candace Owens, and there's a real wake-up, I think, happening in minority communities right now. You see some of the statistics where there are some people realize, I mean, the whole comment about, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I mean, that's got to be one of the most condescending things. Like, just because of your skin color, you have to vote a certain way. I mean, and I think a lot of people saw that as a wake-up call of saying, no, actually I don't. I'm going to look at the platforms. I'm intelligent, and I can actually make my own decision. Chelsea Handler saying to 50 Cent, I had to remind him that he was black. I mean, how offensive. I don't know if you followed that story or not, Dan, about 50 Cent, the rapper, coming out in support of Trump, and his former girlfriend said she had to remind him that he was black. I mean,
I heard about that, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, again, that's insane.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, he looked at the different, tax proposals from both parties and basically said, I don't want to be 25 cent or 20 cent. So,
did you say that, or did you use that?
He said that. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah. That's hilarious.
That's a great name to use for this.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Dan, we've kept you on a long time. Thanks so much. You were a great.
That was awesome, Dan. Thank you.
And last call. I almost wasn't able to get to you because we were talking to Valerie, and I thought, no, Dan called. Let's. Because quite frankly, I wish we got more calls. We didn't get a lot, but we got a couple of them real quickly. And I said, I got to get to Dan. I'd had a feeling, but I'm glad we did, because that was awesome. So thank you, Dan.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you also for the work you guys do. You're absolutely incredible. I tune into you. I'm unemployed right now, so I'm able to turn the radio on and listen to you guys. And it's like, oh, well, that's one good thing about this. And I love your programming. I love everything that you guys do. You do an excellent job.
Well, thanks.
And when I get employed and have a bit of money coming in, I'll donate to you guys.
Oh, thank you. We'll pray for you and your job search.
Yeah, we recorded that, so we're going to play that back to you if you don't donate, okay? Tell us when you get a job. No, I'm kidding. And we'll pray.
Is this call traceable?
All right, Dan. Good to hear from you. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. God bless.
All right. Boy, that was a great call.
That's a phone call.
Yeah, he was on the phone, and I was like, we're running out of time. I was like, okay, come on, please, get to him,
Did he even tell you what he wanted to say? Yeah,
he told me, he gave me a brief summary of what he was going to say, and I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I feel like that would start a good conversation. I'm watching the clock go down. I'm like, oh, no.
I never really thought of it that way.
I haven't either.
I can't make sense. I've said this before a couple of times, but the pro-life marches, if any person started acting crazy or started, throwing things or everybody else would be like, dude, no, this isn't what this is about. We're peaceful.
Right.
Okay? Even though we got a lot of reason to be angry with all the deaths of innocent babies, it's a dignified, slow, we'll take the slow game of changing hearts and minds. That's not the devil's way. The devil wants, enmity and anger and damage and loss of life and fires, and it's night and day, really, in the approach of these two sides.
Right. I mean, look at the difference between some of the marches that have been happening over the years and the March for Life. Yeah. They're very different. The attitude's different. The spiritual sort of aspect of it feels so different.
You don't
One
see
is so joyful, peaceful, happy, excited.
Yeah.
You don't it's a rager. There's anger. There's
Dan is so right. Boy, I'm going to chew on that for
me
the
too.
next few days.
Marinating on that.
As we watch the news, and I hope I'm wrong, but everybody in D.C. Boarding up their windows, they don't do that before the March for Life.
No.
Nobody is in D.C. is saying, oh my gosh, 400,000 pro-lifers are coming to town.
Right.
Board up your windows. Why? Because it's not violent.
Yeah, you think a group of 400,000 people, that can be very intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even if they're all happy, peaceful, there's just a lot of people to deal with in the city.
It is. You're a little bit like, I hope I don't get separated from my group.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to it, and there was a lot of hand-holding going on. Like, don't get separated. One time, it was really funny, actually. One time we got separated because a group of priests came by, and the lady behind me, they told us, do not let go of your neighbor's hand. And the lady behind me goes, oh, let the fathers through. And I was like, no. There goes the hand. It was like a don't let go, Jack moment.
Titanic, yes, you're going down.
I'm like, no, I'm separated. Yeah. But
Jack also, by the way, would have fit on the door.
He would have. It's scientifically proven. They tried it. Do you know what we're talking about, Dave?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
At the end of I've not even seen the full Titanic movie, but at the end of the Titanic movie, the guy
Spoiler
and the girl,
alert.
spoiler alert,
How did we
sunk.
get into the Titanic movie?
Because you had to mention it, so I had to give my opinion on a very controversial opinion on Titanic.
They're stuck on a small piece of wood, and he dies because
spoiler alert, Leonardo DiCaprio dies.
He dies because there, quote unquote, wasn't enough room on the door. But people have literally tried it out, and there was enough room on the door for both of them, and so he didn't have to die.
I'm pretty
that's
sure
the whole tragic part
either
of the movie.
Discovery Channel or Scientific American did a whole, would he have actually fit on the door? And yes,
he would have fit on the door.
How did you guys start talking about that?
She brought it up.
Did
it's all Sissel's fault.
Okay, well, you technically brought it up too. I was talking about getting separated, and there's a line, "Don't let go, Jack," because she's holding onto his hand.
Okay.
And then he very dramatically lets go.
All of a sudden, I'm going
Watch
to
out, we're gonna
I thought you were talking about Jack Dorsey and Twitter and the congressional hearings.
Sorry,
we'll start ranting about Titanic and how bad of a movie it is.
From 15 years ago. Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. Let's go.
That was my mistake.
I actually have that movie at home on DVD. But I got it. I actually liked it. But and again, this is a film kind of question. They got that one nude scene with Kate Winslet, and then of course there's a assumed premarital sex scene, and I'm like, why'd they have to do that? I mean, the news scene was totally unnecessary. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really all that significant to the plot, other than he's an artist.
Yeah.
And, but he could have drawn a sunset. He could have drawn her, on the.
You know that the real question is why did they have to make up a tragic story when that whole story is full of tragic stories, like real life tragic stories? Yeah. Why do we have to make up this crazy love triangle, dramatic separated classes, Romeo and Juliet thing when we already had tragedy in that story? Yeah. So anyhow, I have issues with that movie.
Well, I'll say this. Probably about 6 years ago, I just started getting into reading a lot about the exploitation of actors and actresses, a lot, like before Me Too, even we're talking like in the 80s, 90s, like all throughout all the time, and just how so many people are coerced into doing scenes like that they kind of don't agree to, but they just end up doing them anyways. And just different sort of people who get out to California, to LA to be a big star, and then they have to literally have to sacrifice their bodies in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
And from I can say for the last like 5-6 years, I don't watch any movie or any TV show with any nudity in it. And it's an extremely high standard that I have to hold myself to.
Yeah.
But if I see that there's something like that in there, I refuse to watch the movie. I don't even fast forward through it, because even that to me is showing some sort of support for that artist, for that filmmaker, for that director, for that production company, for that studio.
Yeah.
Even fast forwarding it, even deleting the scene, and I can't even do that.
Yeah.
So it limits what I can watch.
Yeah.
Obviously.
PG-13 could have those, right?
Yeah,
extremely
very
rarely.
Scandalously dressed people.
Yeah.
At least,
But it limits what you can watch. But those images sort of stick in. They get ingrained in your mind forever. And so for me, it's just one of those. I'd rather try to keep my mind.
Well, to keep on topic with the film, The Sound of Freedom, I was looking up some stuff while we were talking about it. So Tim Ballard, which is what the movie's about, he founded Operation Underground Railroad when he separated from the government. Yep. Just really crazy is that he estimates that they have saved the lives of over 4,000 children, and since its founding, which was only a few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just kind of...
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah. Jim Caviezel's a great actor. Now, Eduardo seems to have kind of a minor role.
He has a role in it, yeah.
Yeah, he's a guy named Paul. Do you know what his role is?
No, I don't remember.
I was going to ask him if he had shown up.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter.
No, not at all.
I am, but we'll talk about that later. He owes us a big one.
No. It was funny because I was looking up, because I was like, okay, admittedly, when Dave kept saying his name, I was like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. So I was looking it up, and it was really funny finding pictures of him, because I was going to put something on Facebook, and I was like, wow, so all these pictures are smoldering pictures. It was quite amusing to look through. But it's really cool that he went from being kind of the heartthrob character to doing more wholesome roles.
Yeah, just reading comments here on social media. Laura asked what the movie was that we were talking about, and I love that. Okay, then, Diane, I think, responded. Sound of Freedom is the movie. It's not... A movie it's so weird now, because it used to be, coming on to the theaters April 13th.
We have no idea.
And it's like, when do you see movies? Where do you see them? Where do you go? I mean, is it stream? Is it,
Right.
They had that one-day showing of the movie that we promoted last week.
On Maximilian
Colby?
Colby?
Yeah, Maximilian Colby, 2 Crowns. I don't know how that went. This is, again, I think it's necessary to see this movie. So you can go to Sound of Freedom is the, you can see the trailer.
The trailer's on YouTube. And I mean, it just, they were planning on a theater release, but obviously that's not going to happen. But it's just crazy because everybody sort of having to pivot in the moment. Like nobody had a contingency plan for like a pandemic to happen in 2020 for their movies. So
really, that wasn't in the
the bingo card.
When you budget, you have to think about all these things.
Maybe like a 5-10% of your budget just for emergencies. Not like we have to redo all of marketing and distribution.
It was great because I took in the spring I was taking a business for media class, and our professor was very much like, you need to think about all the variables. He goes, obviously there's some things you can't predict, and then a couple months later we're all at home, and he goes, by the way, this is one of the things you couldn't have predicted in your budget. And Joan had just asked, like, how do you find out if there's nudity in a film if it isn't stated? And I wrote her back saying, try using common sense media. But do you have any other suggestions, Alex?
I go to Movie Guide.
Movie Guide.
They're really big. What's the name of their founder? He's a pretty big like media guy, and it's just Ted something. But it's a website that's been around for years, and basically they review movies. They tell you exactly what's in the movies. They tell you like literally how many times this word is used, that word is used, exact scenes. Exactly. They rate them +4 to -4. -4 is like,
And common sense media comes from parents usually, and so they are able to say the things maybe that Hollywood wouldn't suggest is wrong. You know what I mean? They talk about themes too. Like, are there positive themes? Are there negative themes? Like, does good
evil portrayed well.
Right.
Those sort of things too.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk about, does the movie present a Christian worldview? Is it romanticized? Is it modern? Is it new agey? It tells you everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dove is another one.
Dove's a good one
Dove
too.
review.
Yeah.
My family. Back in the day when we'd go to the video store, I'd go to the video store, and my family.
What's
would
a video
know.
store, Dave? Can you tell me what that is?
My family would know that Dad's going to be gone about an hour because I'd go and then I'd get my phone out and I'd do all the reviews. Or if my kids are with me, they're like, "Oh, Dad," because I go, and I also go to Rotten Tomatoes because those. And you tell me if you disagree, but sometimes those Christian based ones, they're telling you if it's a good movie from a moral standpoint. They don't always necessarily tell you if it's a good movie. Like Rotten Tomatoes, these are like the movie review people, and so I don't trust them from a moral standpoint.
From a quality standpoint, though.
Yeah, so I say like if Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 90% and then Dove also approves it, then I'm in.
Yeah.
But if Rotten Tomatoes says 14% of the reviewers liked it, but Dove said it has a great theme. Well,
it's funny because with Little Boy, how I was telling you, it was destroyed here. I think the Rotten Tomatoes score was like 15%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. But the audience score was like a 95, 96.
Yeah, audience is important.
Don't pay attention to the critics, really.
And at the time, it was the biggest disparity in Rotten Tomatoes history.
Oh, wow.
It had the biggest difference
Do you have a trophy for that?
Excuse me? I don't. But yeah. It was crazy. And then, you go to places like Mexico and Latin America, and the movie did super well. Like in reviews and box office. So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And you were on the set of Little Boy, which is cool.
Yeah.
6
months, 5 months, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah.
It actually,
awesome.
Speaking of Titanic, the movie Little Boy,
Speaking of Titanic.
the movie Little Boy was shot in the same studio that Titanic was shot in.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's these huge soundstage in Mexico, Baja California, right on the border of California and Mexico. And it's on the coast in a little town called Rosarito Beach. So there's a lot of expats there, a lot of ex-military retirees from the United States. And there's these massive sound stages next to the ocean. So when James Cameron, the director and producer of Titanic, wanted to shoot the Titanic, he needed a place big enough where he could literally do a life-size replica. And from certain angles, the ocean's right behind, so it looks like the boat's on the ocean. Instead of being out in the middle of the ocean, which is impossible. Or at least very difficult. So he had to, go to 20th Century Fox and say, I need an entire studio built that can withstand the capabilities for this movie. And so they built him a studio in Mexico.
That's crazy.
And then Little Boy was the first movie filmed there after about 5 years because of the situation. Nobody wanted to go down there. And so this movie helped show, American film producers that you can make a very good quality movie in Mexico. So,
all right, cool. Where did the Titanic originate? Where did it set sail? Do you know?
Oh, it was in
England.
I was gonna
Ireland.
Manchester.
Ireland. Oh, that's right. It was Ireland.
It was Belfast, wasn't it?
Wow.
The Titanic was made in Belfast. It was constructed in Belfast.
Yeah.
But where did it launch
from?
I
think it launched from. See, I asked the question. I don't even know the answer.
Oh, I thought you had the answer pulled up.
I
I
think it was Ireland. I think it left from. It was made in Belfast. In fact, my wife was born in Belfast, and so we've been there. And,
oh wow!
And you'll see there's like a tour in a museum of
the
Titanic, and so I'm pretty sure it set sail from Ireland.
But
Sissel's doing the fact checking right now.
It.
And anyways. Any other comments on the show? We're coming down to the end. I know you got to jump on a flight and take off here before long. Covered a lot of ground. We talked about, of course, the beatification of Father McGivney. And you're a first degree knight?
First degree.
Do you get bugged by people to go and do your major degrees, or do they?
Not really. I haven't. Well, because I'm moving up to Dallas. I haven't really gotten situated into a fraternity yet, but I am a proud life insurance customer.
Okay. You got life insurance.
Through the Knights.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me in, because I called the field agent who was a parishioner at my parish and said, "Hey, I need life insurance." He was like, "Oh, well, you need to be a knight if you want life insurance with us."
Yeah.
I said, "All right, I'm in."
And how cool that a big-time knight's son was the one who was healed, and that was what cleared the way for the beatification. There's also
that it takes so long for that to happen. That's what I wanted to ask a little more about, was how long has the official process taken? And that part was 4 years for the miracle to get proven. But I wonder how much was before that. And
Yeah.
It's a long, long time.
And, our friend Carrie Beckman, founder of Regina Caeli Academy, she was healed of cancer praying to Father Patrick Peyton.
Oh, wow. The one with the documentary that was released, right?
Pray, right. Pray. There's some great ones.
Wow.
It also says here in regard to Father McGivney, a Connecticut knight was healed of COVID. John Palmieri and his wife Alana both contracted COVID and were healed. And then there's a guy named Rahan Asaratam. His wife was diagnosed with kidney failure. And anyways, I think there might have been a miracle.
Wow, well, he's going to be a saint in no time.
Yeah. So they got a few others that they're following. Here's
awesome.
A gentleman from Nigeria.
Wow.
Who has, I think, something. All this stuff is on the website, kfc.org,
Cool.
kfc.org. So that was kind of, I wish we had more time with Brian. It was a good conversation.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we everything goes long,
Right.
All right. And so in my intense Titanic research, I am actually a little bit more confused than when I started. But it seems like it was launched in Belfast, and then it actually set sail for its maiden voyage from Southampton, England.
Oh, okay.
Which is where my mom was born.
So they
look at that.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
So they
I
made
won
it
that
in
battle.
Belfast, and then they brought it to Southampton. That's where people
That's where it actually
got
got
on.
and the maiden
Okay.
voyage was begun. Now, it may have, I have no idea. Ireland might be thrown in there somewhere for some reason,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah, definitely. But my mom was
Fascinating.
born in Southampton, so
Okay.
that's a
Well, we have maintained a lot of folks watching on social media. I do want to thank Diane. Diane does a great job. If you
Great
go on
job.
social media, you'll see images that Diane pops up all the time. Diane's the silent one. She doesn't talk a lot in the show. You don't hear a lot because none of us will give her a chance to talk because
No.
we're always talking so much. But it was a good show. Even without Eduardo, we lure everybody in saying we got Eduardo, but we thought we were going to have him, but
things
We
happen.
had it confirmed.
you gotta roll with the punches, and
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
not God's will for us to have Eduardo Vadastigi.
No,
on the
but it
show
was
today.
God's will to have Dan on.
Yeah. If we had had
absolutely.
Eduardo, we wouldn't have had Dan.
Right.
Dan
So that
wouldn't
was
have
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
fascinating
Very
phone call. That was
fascinating.
awesome. That's gonna stick with me for a while.
Yeah. As we watch the news and just pray for peace. When we pray our rosary at night, I always pray for peace in families and people's hearts, and also for our nation and our world, because there is such a lack of peace right now. There's just so much enmity and so much vitriol. And I hope the weekend and early next week is peaceful. I kind of doubt it's going to be entirely, but hey, God can work wonders, and maybe
Right.
we will have a peaceful election. Who knows?
Wow. Yeah. Hopefully.
All
Not
right.
counting on it, but we hope.
Yeah,
any
it could happen.
closing thoughts? So I didn't ask you for a recap of the show,
No, not
or
today.
what you think.
No.
I have one more thing. Can we play the theme song?
Oh,
One last time.
All right,
One
let me
last
walk
time.
up-
You like
Yes,
that, don't
yes.
I would love to see if people in the comments would like to know if they would like us to make a video parody of it.
you? I definitely would like to.
Dave
so, all
wants
right,
a
we're
video
gonna play it
parody.
one more
Hold on, I
time.
gotta run
Great.
And this, just as a matter of setup, is a little 30-second promo for the Friday show that Sissel put together based on the Gilligan's Island theme. And it sounds a little like this. Oh, okay.
Oh, almost.
Here we go.
Just sit right back and you'll hear about a Catholic radio show. A radio show on Fridays with the greatest team you'll know. The host is a mighty radio man, he leads us brave and sure. 3 more of us are on the air for 1 hour straight. Our show starts at 8 with the radio host, the producer, to the movie guy, the professor, and Diane here on GRN Alive.
That is greatness. That is great. Thanks, Sissel. All right. Now you got to hear it a second time. We'll play it again next week. We'll just keep on playing this thing until people say, quit it.
Please
will ya?
stop. And then
Enough
we'll make the
already."
Brady Bunch parody.
Hey, I like that.
Oh, no.
Here's a story. Okay, I'm starting to. All right, thanks everybody for hanging with us. Have a wonderful weekend. Pray for our nation and enjoy. If you're doing something for Halloween tomorrow night, and then All Saints Day, All Souls Day, the next day is Election Day, so a lot going on. Don't forget to catch Joe and the team Monday, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for GRN Alive Monday. I bet they're working on a parody for Monday. That'd be kind of fun.
They better come back with one, you know? Like, we should have a war.
Yeah.
Parody
They
war.
can't be slackers. They got
I mean, I did say that we are the greatest team.
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah,
like that was calling them out.
Yeah.
Personally.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. God bless you.